These tapes were developed by the Academic Skills Center at Dartmouth College in cooperation with Instructional Services. Funding was provided through a Hewlett grant. The primary purpose of your college experience is to learn, and you can significantly increase your ability to learn by becoming an active and strategic learner. Think of learning as a three-step process: exposure, review, and practice. The first step is exposure. Exposure means attending your classes and reading your assignments when they are due.
It's like a swimmer jumping into a moving stream. If you can swim fast enough to keep up with the stream, there's absolutely no problem. You will do well from beginning to end. But if you get behind and start to slow down and the stream keeps moving, you will sink. That's what you have to keep in mind. Don't get behind. Stay up to date. Tomorrow's material builds on today's material. And so it's essential that you stay up to date.
The learning process begins by being exposed to the new information you hear in class and read in your textbooks. For some students, however, the exposure step is often mistaken as the only step in the learning process. If you only expose yourself to the information, it's more likely that you will forget it over time as you are exposed to new information you read and hear in class. Forgetting, the primary enemy to student learning, is more likely to occur if you only expose yourself to the information. Studies reveal that forgetting begins immediately after you listen to a lecture or finish a reading assignment. And much of what you heard or read can be lost within 48 hours.
But if you go back to your room and you sit down with your notes and you annotate those notes, within 24 hours the student will really remember things that were said in lecture that they'll forget 2 or 3 days later. So they can use that opportunity really just to go over and review their notes.
To combat forgetting and enhance learning, you need to take the second step in the learning process. The second step is to actively review and reduce the information from your classroom notes and reading assignments on a weekly basis. Reduce your class notes and reading assignments to 1 or 2 review or summary sheets, which summarize the key ideas and the most important facts or examples. Map or diagram historical or scientific information. Record facts or vocabulary words on 3x5 cards. The very act of reducing or distilling the information will help you better understand and retain the information.
In order for you to master a subject, you have to review it constantly in order to understand it thoroughly. Not superficial, but deep, depth learning. And that only comes by review. Constant action, repetition, and the like. It's like rehearsing for a role in a theater. You're not going to get up there and perform unless you review adequately. Every lesson is, in that sense, akin to what one does on the stage. So review is crucial.
This step in the learning process doesn't take a lot of time. By investing at least an hour every week to act a review, you will achieve a greater understanding of the information long before you'll be tested on it. The third step in the learning process is to practice the information throughout the term. All human beings have a natural ability to store lots of information. But human beings don't have the same capacity or ability to retrieve that information, especially if it hasn't been stored in a meaningful way and hasn't been actively reviewed and practiced over time. Tests and examinations will require you to retrieve information, so the best preparation is to practice retrieving or recalling it. 2 specific strategies for practicing course information are individual recitation and group study. Recitation, saying the information out loud, is the most powerful method for taking information from short-term memory and placing it in your long-term memory.
The reason that's so important is that if they say it out loud and they stumble over it, say they're trying to define the term competition in the field of ecology and evolution. And they try to define it, and they say, well, I think, and they get the words mixed up. Just saying it, they hear that they don't know the definition yet. If they just looked at their definition and thought about it, they say, okay, that makes sense. I know what that means. That's not the same, because when they get onto the test later, they're going to have to very quickly articulate their definition. So having said it out loud to themselves or out loud to other students in a study group seems to be the biggest single study skill a student can use.
On a weekly basis throughout the term, you should practice by reciting the information from your summary sheets or 3x5 cards. Similarly, do additional math, science, or economics problems. This is the most successful way to prepare for any midterm or final exam.
And that kind of review, that kind of drill is essential. When you're learning mathematical skills, drill is absolutely essential. Think back to how one learns times tables or addition tables. You go over it and over it and over it. Same thing is true with a foreign language. Same thing is true with doing calculus. Same thing is true with certain skills that you need in physics.
Group study, the second strategy, will also help you practice the information. Get together with 2 or 3 of your classmates. Test each other, do practice problems, or anticipate exam questions.
Students seem to learn better when they're explaining the material to someone else. When I first started teaching, I thought I understood the mathematics in a given course. Now I know I really didn't understand it until I had to teach it, until I had to explain it to someone else. Students are the same.
Let's practice a key strategy of this video presentation by reviewing the information and strategies. Learning is a 3-step process that should occur throughout the term. Expose yourself to the material by attending class and taking notes, and keep up with the reading assignments. Review the information by reducing classroom notes and reading assignments on a weekly basis. Distill the information into summary sheets, 3x5 cards, concept maps, and diagrams. Practice the information by reciting the information or doing additional problems. Form a study group where you will test each other and solve problems. Rather than moving through the term in a linear fashion, only keeping up and exposing yourself to the information, you should consistently spiral back over the information presented during the previous weeks. Through active review and practice, you will further your understanding and your ability to recall the course content. Here's an effective way of thinking about using this strategy on a daily basis. For every hour you spend on a subject, spend the first 45 minutes keeping up with the readings and other assignments, such as lab reports, writing assignments, and problem sets. Spend the last 15 minutes actively reviewing or practicing the previous week's material. It's through active review and practice that you improve your long-term understanding and your ability to retrieve the information for exams. You can ensure your academic success by employing this 3-step approach to college learning.